This pandemic has caused us all to shift our plans of how we minister to children and families. While some of us have continued to find creative ideas, I know there are some of us too who have got stuck in a rut or feeling frustrated or just unsure of what to do. Maybe what worked 3 months ago isn't quite working today. So I want to offer some creative ideas for us to engage with children and families on Sundays during our main services, throughout the week, for special events, and remind us to remember our parents and how to interact and engage with them. First, let's set the scene. If you're recording from home, find some things that are familiar to the kids. I always love to teach from a timeline, so I found a timeline that I can put behind me and teach from that as well. I also keep little mementos from some of our lessons and have those familiar objects in my screen. So I've found a lamp where I can post those things up there, elements from previous lessons, and our rock wall that we use, our regular elements. On Sundays, our church values intergenerational worship. We value having kids present and part of our service, so we've worked to keep our regular traditions in place, just in a video format. We usually have a rock wall that we mark when we're present, when we share the remember verse, when we use our Bible, so we physically add rocks to a rock wall. So we've brought that concept home and we've created containers. I've encouraged kids to find their own containers and their own mementos and look for God sightings. Look for where God is active in their lives. This is my God sighting container back here that I add mementos on our Sundays when we're together, and I call out activities we've done online or together, or if somebody has a birthday, to engage kids. And I invite them to get their own rock wall ready and call out their God sightings as well. So it's something they can do as a family. We also, pre-pandemic, had a remember verse that as a congregation we memorized together. So we would work on this for about a month at a time. So we've continued that practice, and this fall, as we've wanted to include more faces and more voices in our Sunday service, we've enlisted kids to share that remember verse and lead the entire congregation in this. I sent them a template that includes what their name is and how they practice the remember verse, and then they lead us in the remember verse. And I would love to show you what that looks like right now. All right, let's grab our rock wall and get ready to add our rocks. I'm going to add some for using our Bible, knowing we were in the New Testament. I'm going to add some for the story and knowing Jesus is powerful. I'm also going to add some for our rock wall that we use to remember God's faithfulness, and our remember verse. We hide those verses in our hearts and our minds so we know God. I have a friend here who's going to share the remember verse with us, so let's listen in and say this all together.
I have been practicing the remember verse by saying it all over and over and over. This week's remember verse is of Acts 1:8a. Let's say this together. You will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes on you. You will be my witnesses. Acts 1:8a.
Isn't that fun? I love at the end how he claps, and it's just so exciting to see different kids and the way that they've engaged in it. So that's a fun way to bring other faces in and practice something together. Kids lessons, remember, you don't have to use everything that's created in curriculum you may be using. You maybe don't even need a canned curriculum right now during this time. Curriculum is a tool to help us accomplish our goals. So remember that. I switched things up this fall, and again, I found a resource that was super simple. So I found a color book, The Miracles of Jesus, and so we're walking through each miracle that's contained in here, one a week, and it gives kids an opportunity to engage with the story. So we resource them with these that were very inexpensive and helps us focus on what we're doing. We do have a kids moment during the service, and then I've also been recording a larger kids moment longer that I post on YouTube. So parents can help their kids interact with that and have resources to connect them. During the week, find a formula that works for you. You don't need to keep recreating something every week. The first few months of the pandemic, I created daily videos, and that has since gone down in frequency. But I had just a formula that worked. I started with a silly little camp song that kids engaged with, and then I pulled out Jesus Calling, the devotional book, and I would read the devotion for the day and just offer some thoughts that came to mind as they popped up, or maybe a craft idea that they could do. And then at the end, I had a blessing that I offered them. And again, I just looked around my home for things that I had. I had these cards from when one of my kids graduated that are blessings for graduates, but it's just a verse or a thought that helps kids. And so I would pick one of those out and read it for them. So it was something fun to keep them engaged. Some other resources I found these prayer cards. Aren't those the cutest little things? They have different types of prayers for praising God, thanking God, a variety of things. So often I'll use these in one of my weekly events or my Sunday teaching, and I'll just flip to that and then show them what we're going to pray for, and then we'll pray together. And this is a way to resource families, but then we're also modeling for them how to use it when we create videos or send out notes about this. Another resource that I've used is Books of the Bible Key Ring. So this was a resource I found online. Join those Facebook groups and look at the files on the left-hand side of the screen. There's a lot of free resources in there, and I think this is where I got this one. So it had files with each of the books of the Bible, and the back also has information on it with the author, how many chapters, the theme. So this is good for a lot of ages. I used it even this week as I was teaching. We were talking about the feeding of the 5,000, and that's contained in all 4 books of the gospel. So I was able to pull this up and show them that it was in all 4 books. So it must mean it's important to us. So I used this as a resource and modeled how to use it. This also came with instructions for parents to play different games with them. This is even a resource you could probably create if you wanted just the really simple pieces, printed it in color. We laminated it and bought the rings from an office supply store. So that's a really easy resource to provide for your families. You could also create something with remember verses that you have done before or practiced, or find key verses that you want your families to know and make cards like that for them. And then in your teaching, if you're doing video or live teaching, use those, point to them, show how to use them, so we're modeling this for families. One thing that I've done with children too throughout the pandemic is the snack and story time. I'm sure some of you have tried that. Keep showing up, keep being there. I encourage you as well, get resources that show children of color, that show different ethnicities, that show the love of God. We don't have to select just one genre and stick with that. Be intentional in how you're resourcing your families. And again, that's modeling for them and offering encouragement for them. For events, we did a drive-through communion and back-to-school blessing recently. It was really great to see families drive through their cars, stay in their cars, and then we offered them communion, and we offered children a grape as a sign of God's love and blessing. Here's some pictures of the blessing bags that we provided to the families as well, to all of the children. And I just found some of these resources that we're using and put those in there, and added some basic art supplies, some back to school supplies of construction paper and crayons, and some little candy treats, of course. So lots of fun things. And the kids were so excited to receive those and just feel like it was a blessing. And we were able to pray a blessing over them as well before they went back to school. We're planning again another drive-through communion time for this next month. Even though we're in rainy season here in the Seattle area, it's an opportunity to connect and continue to build relationships with families. We're looking at our fall events. How do we provide a fall event in a socially distant way? I'm considering, instead of a trunk or treat that might put more people involved or at risk, what would it look like if we drop kids off from their car at one spot outside, they go up the outside stairs to different stations to connect or grab their little treats that we have for them, and then hop in the car at the other end. So they're out of the car 5 to 7 minutes, and so it's only that group of students that's going through at a time. So we're brainstorming what that might look like as a way to still provide something fun during this time where we have to be maintaining social distance and caring for others. I'm also thinking through Christmas. What do our Christmas events look like? There are great resources out there online, so look at those. Look for some Advent resources. I love the idea of ornaments to put together a Jesse tree, and there's a lot of resources out there that talk about the lineage of Jesus and how important it is, and so that helps us center around Christmas why we celebrate Christmas. A fun, engaging activity might be an online gingerbread contest. In the past, we've encouraged families to get the gingerbread house from just Costco or wherever they want to, or start with the basic one and add on however they want to create them. And then we have a judging competition on a Sunday. So I'm also thinking, how can we do this via Zoom or an online group? Maybe we post up pictures and let people vote for them. Maybe we come to an online Zoom and model them and use the poll feature to have people vote for them. Just how are we fostering connection with some of these fun events? I'm also thinking about the Build-A-Pageant. We usually retell the Christmas story as kids participate in costumes, either angels or wise people. So I'm thinking, how do we encourage them to have a treasure hunt around their house, provide them with a simple script so they can retell the Christmas story with decorations and dressing up. They can find their wise person with a college sweatshirt or jersey and go find the bathrobe and the kitchen towels to make the shepherd. I mean, all those kind of traditional things, but they can still have this great family experience all together. I've also heard of another friend who's done a subscription box. If the cost of resourcing families with these things is overwhelming to your church, encourage families to purchase a subscription box. So they're paying for a portion of the box or all of the box, and then you can resource them with different items, different ideas. So don't be afraid to ask for that. As we're doing this, we also want to make sure that we're caring for parents. So use all your channels that are available to you, even if you're not hearing back from them. I send out a weekly email. I sometimes record a video on YouTube and include that in the email, have it on the YouTube channel, put it on our Facebook page for our kids program. I just want to meet people where they are, and families are so busy right now, and some are really struggling with back to school issues and technology. So we want to just encourage them where they are. One thing that I would also consider is, how do we send out cards? How do we send just old-fashioned little box of happy? I love this. And so I send cards regularly to kids. You can enlist your volunteers to help send cards, but send them to the parents too. Mama, you're doing a great job. Keep going, keep trusting Jesus. I think that's a great way to encourage families during this time. Another idea is to remember a blessing bag or box for the families. I'm thinking about a mama reset box or mama reset bag or date night in a box. I wonder if we can ask our congregations to donate chocolates or inexpensive candles, cozy socks, some packages of tea. What might that look like that we could then put together and at one of the drive-through communions pass those out to the mamas or deliver them directly? How are we caring for them during this time as well? That worked great this summer when we had our sports camp instead of a vacation Bible school. So all of the kids got their swag bag, participant bags with all of the pieces they would need, but the coaches got a bag too. We put their resources in there of their information sheets and then a few little things just to bless them. And they were so excited. One mom was like, oh, I get something too? So remember your parents, remember to bless them as well. I've got lots of other ideas and tips and tricks, and I would love to facilitate some more conversation with you and hear from you what you're doing. I think that's the part too. As leaders, we need to stay connected to one another and share ideas. We're not in this alone. We have one another, and God is going to bless us through this time.